It's book club. There ain't no party like a book club party. Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Business Building Book Club. We've been on a wee hiatus for the last couple weeks, sickness and March breaks and all that fun stuff, but we are back. And this week, we're giving you a wrap-up episode of the YouTube formula from the one and only Derral Eves, the master of the YouTube, who has put all of his brilliant knowledge and experience into these pages for us. The YouTube formula, how anyone can unlock the algorithm to drive views, build an audience, and grow revenue. I'm your host, Molly Joris from Visibility Hacking Studios. We've got with us Lefty, the Video Jedi, and Mark Douglas, the Mental Marketer. Mark, how are you doing today?
My gosh, I am doing fantastic this morning. It's great to be in your presence today. I feel like I've missed you all over the past couple of weeks. I'm feeling great. We're wrapping up the book. And I'll say that just, as a teaser for today, man, I've gotten some great results just from practicing a few tips that I learned in this book right here. If you're out there and you're considering a YouTube channel or have been on the fence about it for any amount of time, I highly recommend getting this book along with the online course, because it is a game changer. The things that you actually find out about the algorithm. Well, I won't even say the algorithm. I'll use the word audience in place of algorithm. But that's what it's all about, and that's what I'm here for, is to grow with you guys together. And I'm ready to get into it today.
God, Lefty, give us your warm welcomes.
Yeah, it's been crazy. I was at AdWorld yesterday. I had my 5-day challenge last week. So there was just it. When nobody, like, when there's nothing going on and you're just chilling, it's like almost nobody cares to talk to you. And then all of a sudden, when like it hits the fan, everybody is DMing you and just swarming your inbox. That's how it's literally been the last 2 weeks. And it's like, oh my God, I have so much stuff to do. I can't talk to you right now. Give me 3 weeks. But like, where were you like 2 weeks ago when I had nothing to do?
Yeah.
So I mean, no, it's been awesome. It's been an awesome March. Like I didn't really take a March break, but because I had my challenge and all that, but it was a huge success. And that's pretty much, and we're here now talking about the YouTube formula. Molly, I know I've been messaging you every single Thursday. I'm awake. Are we doing this? So...
Are we doing it? Are we here? You are the most loyal book club follower. There's been some cool upgrades that have been happening. I know Mark was talking about this weeks and weeks ago, and I was upset because it was a feature that wasn't available in Canada, but now literally I can get popped into my account literally today. We can now do podcasts on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
So that means that the Business Building Book Club will now be set as a podcast. So you can check out the whole playlist. So you can get the YouTube formula. You can get the season where we talked about Russell Brunson's .com secrets. You can get Business Building Book Club Season 2, which was Expert Secrets. And of course, you guys can join us for next month, where we talk about, actually, let's leave that book for later on in this episode.
Okay. I've got it right here.
I have a thing for hardcover books, and it's like, let's do some ASMR.
Oh, I love hardcover. Like I will go hardcover all day, every day. I don't care. I'll pay that extra $20.
This cover has texture to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's nice.
So you can now get, or as of probably tomorrow, you'll be able to get the Business Building Book Club in YouTube podcast format. And then you'll also be able to get my returning podcast, but we'll talk about that later. I want to know from you guys, what has been the number one biggest tip or takeaway or aha moment that you've seen from the book? I am here. I just have to deal with my whiny dog. So please continue.
Mark, you want to go first?
All right. My number one biggest takeaway from the book is, okay, so I'm going to make a quote from Mr. Beast here. And he made this quote actually not long ago. If you've been watching it, man, it's been so much that's gone on in this world since it just the last it's been like 3 weeks.
Oh yeah.
But he said it's easier to make it's easier to make one video that will get 1 million views than it is to make 100 videos to get 100,000 views.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you heard that quote. Well, he didn't use those numbers. I think he said something like 55 million and maybe 100, but the idea is the same, is that basically, there's two key metrics, your click-through rate and your average viewing time. Mm-hmm. And when you can focus on those two, first to get the click and then to keep them watching, then the metrics, don't worry about getting views. The algorithm will do the work for you. And that was really the most important thing I found in this entire book, is those two things to focus on. Because, focusing on tags, keywords, descriptions. Well, descriptions and titles too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because this, because the thumbnail gets them to look, and then the title gets them to click to, and then you have to deliver on the promise that you make in the title. So those are some of my biggest takeaways, besides all of the stories that he told about the struggle with the algorithm and being able to adjust along with the algorithm and just stay flexible. And thanks a lot for all of those hooks, Lefty.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. You have a lot, so you could. And again, I'm going to piggyback off of what you said on 3 things. Now that you mentioned the hooks, number 1, you could use them as short form or long form. So if you wanted to put something together for YouTube, boom, you have hooks for that. If you want to use it for short form, you have hooks for that. Second thing you mentioned was in terms of like, it's easier to create one video that gets to 1 million versus 10 that get to 1 million in total, right? Mm-hmm. So coming from someone who like absolutely loves ad spend, I mean, I can already see it, right? If I made 4 videos and I had $1,000 budget that month, I would probably get more views on that video if I just dumped $1,000 into one video as opposed to dumping $250 into 4, right? So that plays off like very, very well. Oh my God, now I can't remember the third thing you said, but like those are pretty much the
title and thumbnail.
Oh, title, thumbnail, and description. That was it. So I don't remember where I read this, but apparently YouTube doesn't like links in your description, although everybody does it. So I'm kind of thinking like, who I heard that from, are they just full of crap? Or like
I've heard that from multiple platforms before, and
I too, right? Okay,
yeah. But what YouTube did recently was they've changed the way that your links appear if they're internal YouTube links. Mm-hmm. So I think what they're trying to do is phase out just ugly hyperlinks that go off platform, and instead are trying to encourage you to use internal links.
Oh,
linking to linking to other playlists, linking to other channels, linking to other videos to again keep them within that ecosystem.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense then. Okay, because I was like, huh? Everybody has links in their description. What are they talking about?
And it says that they don't like spammy links. So, but I don't get a description of a spammy link. Well, is that leads to a spammy page, or is it looks spammy?
I think it leads to pages that have been tagged as potential spammy. And that's totally not technical jargon, but I know that I hate to say this, but I know that a lot of ClickFunnels pages get noted as spam a lot, and same with emails that are sent through ClickFunnels domains. So maybe that's what it is. If, whatever the all-seeing body of internet overwatchers decides that a lot of spam comes from pages from this server or from this whatever, maybe that's where they deem it spammy.
Okay.
You got
or if maybe within YouTube themselves they've noticed the same link showing up everywhere.
Right.
Like people who make spam comments who will leave the same link. So the AI goes, oh, I've seen this exact comment or this exact link posted a lot.
Yeah. Maybe they use AI to detect those actual spam comments. I read somewhere about a spam apocalypse on YouTube a few years ago or something like that, where you would go in the comments, and I guess there'd be like, it was during the era when YouTube was like sub for sub. Were you around that time?
I was around then, but I did not participate in that. But back in the day, that's how we built our networks, was sub for sub. But it was, you find people who are in common with you, you like their stuff and they follow you. It was more like friends rather than this like business relationship that we're all trying to build.
Rather than this process that says go and just because I've had the experience.
The worst era.
I've had the experience where I would just post a video and then almost immediately I'd get a comment on it, and the comment would be completely just random. Random.
That was the worst era ever. That follow for follow, sub for sub, like for like, oh my gosh. Like, I don't know who came up with that strategy for building growth. And I mean, it worked. Obviously, it worked. I'm sure there was a few accounts that actually ended up getting quite a few subs or follows or likes or whatever out of it. But they didn't take into consideration down the road that they might have gone into a different path. Maybe they wanted to become a coach. Maybe they wanted to build a business through that channel or that page or whatever. And now they're stuck with just a bunch of randoms that, maybe they're lucky if they had a handful of people that actually cared about what they were going to do. But I actually never fell into that trap, that whole follow for follow thing or anything. Never. I was like, no, it's cool, man. If I have 300 followers, I'll just stick to my 300 followers. I never did that. So I'm happy I didn't, but yeah.
You make a good point, because that's another good point that I got from the book is don't just go after followers for the sake of numbers. You want truly people that will engage in your content, and you that's what you want. And those vanity numbers are irrelevant. And when you think about it, what is it? The average person only subscribes to maybe 12 channels. I think I've heard that number.
Wow.
And
okay.
when they decide to subscribe to your channel, just think about that decision that they're choosing you. It's like, wow, it's like I'm honored, and
Right.
and that's given me a newfound respect for my audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Overnight, I think my channel, I looked and I had like 600 views, and I'm like, 600 people decided were watching this face right here, this ugly face.
No.
600 maybe completely random strangers were listening to me drone on about funnels and marketing and and whatever. That's incredible to think about, though, but it's exciting at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, like I always told people that, like, if you get a subscriber, like, that person is like dedicated through and through. Even if they don't watch everything, like every single time you put it out, they are just dedicated, because YouTube is like TV. And typically what happens is we'll give a pilot a shot, but like the moment we don't like that pilot, the rest of the season is like a write-off. We're not even gonna care to watch it. And the funny thing is that pilot might have just had some discrepancies that, like, it was going to build the story further. Maybe it's supposed to be a slower story that like progresses as we go. But if we just don't like that initial pilot, and it could end up becoming like a show like Lost, right? But if we don't like that pilot, we're never going to know the amazingness that Lost brought us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how we that's how we pick and choose who we're going to like, who we're going to subscribe to, who we're going to do anything. So you always want to bring in my opinion, you always want to bring the highest production value as you possibly can, because we are kind of in the information age. Like, so I'm almost getting this vibe now, or the sense that it's like, I can listen to Mark or I can listen to Molly, but I also have another 100 Marks and 100 Mollys, because we're spitting out all the same information. So for me, and it's not to discredit what anybody is doing, but I look at it now like, how are you going to really keep me hooked in the video? So what are you doing from an editing standpoint, from a color grading standpoint, from an animations and effects and all that? Because it's almost like information is becoming a commodity, and you guys, like, you can either agree or disagree, but at the end of the day, I don't think you're coming to me because of my information anymore. In my opinion, because you can go to another 100 cinematographers that are probably going to tell you the same thing. So why are you coming to me? It's me. It's the way I do the job. It's not what I'm necessarily saying. It's
just like, I think you mentioned this on Friday, like when people comment, "Thanks, tips." You're like, right, but it's not about the information. It's about, I am becoming the place for you to get that kind of information. I'm creating, I'm going to say it, a safe space for people like me to engage in these conversations, whether it's I'm at a certain level of my cinematography journey. I'm not here. I'm not a Peter McKinnon yet. I'm on that journey. So someone's got to meet me there. Someone's got to teach me from where I am. And that's what you're creating.
Yeah.
Thanks, tips.
It's what it is. And you know what? I thank you. I told you this recently. Thanks for the book, for going through your challenge. And that book, I know now you're an ads guy, because the book that you sent me was really about the guy who was really he calls himself the go-to expert for Facebook ads, but it was really talking about audience and being able to what people do is shared values, shared values, and someone's stories that you can relate to and that you can see yourself in. And that's the thing. we don't see ourselves in everyone. And that's, you know, that was kind of a it was a difficult, well, maybe an adjustment for me to understand how you can see somebody over there saying the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But saying it in a different way. And you're like, I just said that.
Oh, I know. And I hear that I get that all the time on YouTube. Like, whether like I've heard from like people that follow me where someone's like, you know what? Like, I've heard this like at least 5 times, but for some reason, when you said it, and I didn't even change the script, I could have said it word for word, but they're like, I just got it when you said it, and I'm like, okay, I still don't understand the psychology behind that, but it's all, I don't know, maybe it's the person's voice, maybe it's the body language they use, maybe it's in the tonality of how it's like said or whatever, but like it's interesting for me to be like, okay, but what did I do that you couldn't have understood it the first 4 times, right? That's how I think, right? I mean, obviously it's a compliment, but Mark, you mentioned something about audience, and I'm going to tell you guys something that my immigrant Greek grandfather, God rest his soul, he's been passed for 5 years now, but he said this to me when I was 18 and I was just finishing high school. So I was still a little kid, but he was an entrepreneur. He owned a Shoppers Drug Mart. He owned a movie theater. He was in radio and broadcast television for 40 years. He was a household name. He had over 500,000 Greeks in the community tuning into radio and television to him week in and week out. And the one thing that he said to me, he goes, it's not about the marketing. It's not about the pretty banners and the sexy ads and all that. He goes, if you just get someone to like you, your plate will never be empty.
It's so true.
Yes.
He goes, just get them to like you. If they like you, you'll never go hungry. And I was like, and now I'm like, wow. And we're like, that always hit me, where it was like, I didn't care what I did. I didn't care how I marketed myself. I just need you to like me. And if you like me, I'm in a good spot.
That's powerful.
So powerful. And if you I know, man, I'm such a nerd and I'm always reading. And can I just read a passage from a book that we're not talking about right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Because it's just so relevant right now. And I think that this passage right here sums up the entire book almost. And here's what he says, and this backs up what you said, Lefty. He says, as Neil Patel puts it, nobody buys a mattress. Everyone just wants a good night's sleep. If you want to succeed on Facebook, you need to remember that no one is interested in what you're selling. They're only interested in connecting with someone who can solve their problems. Mm-hmm. Connecting with someone who can solve their problems. They're not interested really in the things that you're saying. It's the connection. And and that was the premise behind this book. And I'm thinking that's probably going to be the premise behind the next book that we dig into.
Oh, I have a bone to pick with Gary on this book.
Oh, you do?
Spoiler alert. Let's just go. So
it.
next week we are going to dive into the master himself, Mr. Gary Vaynerchuk. We're going to jump into jab, right hook. This is a hardcover book. We love this. And it was recommended by the one and only Jim Beard, who co-hosts our Friday Night Live show as well. So a great marketer, a great suggestion, and a fabulous book. So this is a very pretty book on the inside.
Oh,
we're going to talk about it. But there's a ton in here.
And
I'm so excited.
And just so people get a little bit of context, like this book I think was published roughly like 10 years ago. So I could have the date wrong, but he mentions it in the book. So it's quite an older book, but it's interesting because I haven't read too far into it yet. But it's interesting to see that
2013.
How 2013?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. So
10-year anniversary.
10-year anniversary. Okay, so guys, another thing too is you don't. You also have to don't listen to everybody on the internet, right? Because and I know it's crazy.
Hold on.
Really?
Did you say don't listen to strangers on the internet?
Don't take candy from internet gurus, okay?
I'd say don't listen to anybody.
So let me tell you why I say this. I say this because I'm only maybe in the first chapter of this book, and although okay, there are some things that potentially could be outdated. Potentially, we don't know, and the reason we don't know is because we're always trying to do the next best thing. But think about this for a second. We are reading a book that's 10 years old, yet once you actually dive into it, more or less the principles still work today. Therefore, this whole thing of you need to do 10 reels a day, but then you need to do one, then you need to do none, then hashtags don't matter, then hashtags do matter. Stop listening to that shit. Stop listening to that. Why? Because we're reading a book that's 10 years old and the knowledge still works today. So
someone oh, I'm stuck.
It's okay, say your piece.
Okay. You can still hear me.
I can still hear you.
Okay. Someone looked at one of my videos on YouTube that was a year old, and they asked me, does this still matter? Because it's over a year old now. I'm like, yeah, it still matters today. It's still true today.
So just to touch base on this, and I know, and it's just an example, you know, I could be wrong, but typically when, let's say, something important wants to happen in the world, there'll be a brand release of something to keep us busy, right? So it's I feel like the same thing happens on social media. Is there, because let's face it, there is what a 1% on the internet. There is a social media superpower, and we know the names. We don't have to tell it, you know, like there are those people, and I just feel like it's the exact same thing. They keep us busy every week or every month just doing random things, thinking that we're going to grow when nothing actually changes. And they're still winning while we're all still suffering and trying to get that one new subscriber or that one new follower, right? Just if you have a gut instinct and that's where you want to go there. Stop listening to everything that's happening around you. And yeah, just break out of that, because what works for one person doesn't work for everybody. And that doesn't mean that these things don't actually work, right? You know, you see somebody try a method and all of a sudden they get to like 6K followers, right? But you turn around and go, oh, I'm going to do the same exact method, but that might not be what your audience wants. That might not be what your audience cares about. It's obviously something that person's audience cared about, and that's why he or she was able to grow rapidly. But you might not have the same thing. So this is why I always say, don't listen to people. Just do what makes sense for you. You want to listen to people, listen to your audience. Listen to people that are already following you. Get feedback. Like I got feedback this week. Right? I specifically asked my audience straight up. I'm like, I'm currently putting out a YouTube video once a week. Is that something that you guys like and enjoy following? Or would you rather me put out a bi-weekly video or even a video once a month if I can give you the same exact information, but a better production quality? And they all turned around to me and said, we want to see bi-weekly for the better production quality.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. When it comes to following gurus, and what I'm excited for Gary Vee's book, and what I think Derral Eves did fantastically in YouTube Formula, is giving us the information to understand why.
Yeah.
Like Derral Eves gave us the history of YouTube and how it's developed and how it's gotten to where it is at the time that he wrote the book, right now. And understanding how it evolved helps us understand why the algorithm works the way it does, why connecting works the way it does. And that way, every time these gurus are sharing these tips, we can understand them within the context, rather than following, oh, that's the hashtags are the latest tip, so I got to focus all my attention on that. Because it's never one thing.
No,
that's
never.
the coolest part that I've noticed about creating content on any platform. It's this beautiful matrix. It's this intersectional approach you need to take. Your audience, you like the content you create is uniquely positioned because your audience is different.
Yeah.
As your audience changes and grows through time, will be different. We see a lot of content creators who have a very specific age group that they create content for.
Right.
And when those people then grow up, does the content need to change because we're following the audience, and or are we still sticking to that same avatar? And so that's an interesting dynamic to it. The content that you're bringing, the actual topic you're discussing, is going to change. The time of day that you're posting even is relevant in this matrix. Are you a growing channel? Are you putting ad spend behind it? All of these different factors position you in a unique position. So look for motivation and look for inspiration around you, and think about these tips that you're getting. But understand that, not, as Lefty says, it's not going to be a cut and paste process end result. It's going to be something that's different and is a beautiful, unique journey for each and every creator separately. And that's exciting. And I'm interested to see, when we look at Gary Vee, if he's going to give us that same type of context, or if it will be so obvious that we'll be able to say, all right, here's a 10-year, our reaction, our entire next season of this book club will be a reaction. 10 years later, let's look at this marketing advice and see how it's stood up.
And Molly, you know what's funny about the feedback that I got, and there's one other thing that I took away from the book as well. But I mean, the funny thing is that when I started my YouTube channel again, I always said my goal is to get to creating a video a month, right? So I'm going to start with once a week to really build in and hook my audience. But then as I start getting that audience and start getting that growth, I want to slow my pace down. I don't want to speed it up. I don't want to accelerate it. So it was really funny that it's only been maybe like 4 or 5 months maybe, and they're already pushing me out further without actually without me actually saying it or doing it. They're pushing me out further. They're getting me closer to my goal. So if it took me 6 months for people to say, we want to digest you once every 2 weeks, is it only going to take another 6 months for them to digest me and say, we just want to see you once a month, to now we just want to see you once every other month, once every year, right? Because as I know it would be a sad thing, but as I grow, because I'm also getting back into my filmmaking and getting back into my short films, and I'm actually creating a short film for one of my mentors, which I'm really, really excited for. But you know, those things take time. So maybe it will be, I might put out a badass video every 6 months down the road, or once a year down the road, because the other 9 months I'm actually filming, or 7 months I'm filming, right? Like, who knows where it's going to go? But I have, before this 2-week thing starts, before this bi-weekly facade begins.
Not a facade.
You got a surprise for us too, right?
Oh, my yeah, well, I do have a surprise, but the surprise at the beginning was just my slate book club.
Oh,
but I do have a surprise. The surprise is technically this Friday's episode, which is going to be the last weekly episode before I go every 2 weeks, before I go bi-weekly. And I know
every other week
I'm going to be putting out bi-weekly videos moving forward after this Friday.
I haven't been a huge follower of Gary Vee, but I have consumed a lot of his content, and from what I've seen, he preaches almost like post everywhere, be everywhere, do everything. So what do you think about that, as opposed to, like you're saying, Lefty, I want to ask my audience when they want to see me? Because is that what you meant by you got a bone to pick with Gary Vee? Because Gary Vee's like, pound it. If you're not seen, then you're forgot about.
No.
If you're sleeping and you're not creating content, you're out of the game.
What's wrong with you?
No. The bone. Okay, look, I like to read my books left to right and down. He unfortunately did half pages. So I have to go left to right, down, then back up, then down, then to the next page. So he wrote his book in like half pages, and I think it's the most frustrating way to read a book. So
my God,
that's the bone I have to pick. So it's almost like it takes you twice as long to read one page, when he could have just went from
all
the way across.
Just from a functional perspective, it's quicker to read a short column because your eyes don't have to move across, and you can just keep your eyes in the center and you can read it faster.
Yeah. I get there.
That's why it's set up this way. He's all about freaking efficiency, right?
Oh yeah. No, I get it. I know there's some sort of like psychology behind it, but I just don't like it. Like, I personally just don't like it. That's all it is.
Some 2013 psychology.
Yeah. No. But it's funny. It's funny because, and again, you said the magic word. You don't follow Gary. You've just seen a handful of his content. What he says in the first couple pages of that book, in the introduction, like, it's after obviously the thank yous and all that. He literally says that every social media platform has its own culture, has its own language. So what he does mention is you cannot repurpose, because what will work on one platform will not work on another platform. And we probably do see this. You put up a reel, it gets 1,000 views. You put up that same reel on YouTube Shorts, and you're just like, why did this video only get like 15 likes? Right? So I think if we sat back and digested Gary along all platforms, let's see if he's actually putting out different things on different platforms. Because if that is the case, that now triples our work. But he also does mention to be a master of one platform.
Oh, he does.
Yeah. Okay. He also does say like make one platform, your ultimate slave, understand it through and through, and then move on, and then make that platform your slave, and then so on and so forth. Right. So right now, like, so far, I'm not that far in, but like, it's a very, very, very interesting read so far. Okay. But I do want to see if he's actually now that he mentioned that, I want to see if his content is actually different between, let's say, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and wherever else he is.
I actually picked up his Crush It along with it.
Yeah.
Oh, did you?
I sure did. Yep. I said, you know what? Let me grab this one too. It's you know how Amazon will say,
yeah,
get these two together.
Buy this too and buy that as well. Wait, you're not done.
Here, let me help you spend more money.
Yeah, let me get a stack of books like this.
I do it every time.
Fun fact,
so which one did he write first?
He wrote Crush It first, actually.
Okay.
This one's I think this one's the latest latest book in his series.
Yep. Because he mentions jab, 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 right hook in this book. No, this one is 2018.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, okay, so maybe I got it wrong.
Jab is an old one.
Yeah. He doesn't have a you look at the social media symbols he has here. He doesn't have a YouTube.
No.
And he has a Google Plus, and then that
explains a lot.
Yeah.
Critique number one.
I think he has a T for. Is that Tumblr?
He's got Vine.
Vine.
Yeah, he does have. Oh my God, he has Vine.
So it's Twitter. Twitter, we know, is going through a thing right now, so that'll be interesting to see. Facebook, we love Facebook.
Yeah,
Google Plus doesn't exist anymore. Instagram, still working. LinkedIn, still running hard. Tumblr, Pinterest, still working. Vine, no, but Vine's evolved into shorts. And Snapchat, which I think is interesting. I'm not a Snapchatter.
Are you on Snapchat? Oh my God.
No.
Oh my gosh. I had a friend recommend getting on that. It was funny. Lefty was talking about just it's being able to say no sometimes. Yeah. It's like being an entrepreneur, and he was talking about, once you start getting to do things, then everybody comes to you, and you have to learn to say no. And I had to learn to say no to Snapchat.
Yeah.
Oh, I never got into it.
I had to say no to Snapchat. It had a friend, get on Snapchat. I can't do it.
No, I can never do it. But yeah, I mean, like it does make sense, right? Because like Molly, for example, you go super deep with your content, right?
Yeah.
And it's really awesome. But let's say, for example, let's go, because like there's like a Facebook TikTok war right now. Okay. Let's say you take one piece of content and you say, I'm going to post on Instagram. I'm going to post on TikTok. This is where Gary kind of has it correct. And I do understand it, because you cannot put the same content where one speaks to millennials and one speaks to Gen Z. It's a completely different crowd. So they're not going to reciprocate that piece of content the same. So you do technically have to make different content. And then YouTube, because let's face it, the majority of YouTubers, probably at least the early adopters, I feel, are in and around our age, or probably even have like 5+ years on us. So realistically, that's also a different age group and a different demographic, right?
Absolutely. So, but you can always start with the same core content and take from it what those separate audiences or those segmented audiences would appreciate. So, for example, let's just make it super simple. A podcast. Let's say you found that your podcast audience prefers long form interviews. So you post the full interview there, but then you take snips of that, just golden nuggets, and you create a whole bunch of shorts that you release later on a different platform.
Yes.
Right. So it's in the language of the way that TikTok consumes. And if they want the long form, that's your funnel process. You flip them over to the full episode.
Okay, so if you're talking about but here's the thing, right? Like we're on a different like playing field in a sense where we come from long form content, right?
Yeah.
So we can have that understanding where, let's say, okay, I can take like a 20-second funny clip from one of my videos and let's say put it on TikTok because my Gen Z audience will enjoy that, right?
Yep.
But in this day and age, not many people are focused on making 10, 15, 8, 20-minute videos. So we do have an advantage where we can say, yeah, that 30-second portion could work for TikTok. This 10-second portion can work for Instagram. But what do you do when your whole premise is 30 seconds? You have nothing to cut from. And that's where you have to be like, okay, now I need a video for here. I need a video for there. I need a video for here.
But I think it could be just as easy. And I think a lot of people use that flipped process. No, they do, because they start out with, I'll use a specific example. There's a creator that I follow. She started off with short form content related specifically for foster parents and people aspiring to be foster parents.
Okay.
And she does these quick skits of different important moments and ways that you would word things and phrase things, because that's the missing spot in the market that she's found. And so you can look at her content, and of those skits, you'll find people throw tons of questions in the comments. So she can then use those short form pieces of content, very low resource, in order to create them. It's just a skit with her filming from two sides on her iPhone and some captions. She then can gather those questions and create a long form piece of content that she already has a ready market to watch, which is kind of cool. Yeah.
Very good.
Okay.
So you can do it both ways.
It's interesting that you say about, we'll just say cross channel purpose. Your guy, how do you pronounce his name? Nicholas Kuzmich?
I have no idea who that is.
The author of this book?
Oh, Nicholas. Yes, sorry. You just the pronunciation. But I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
He explains it as contextual congruence, and it's knowing the audience and the platform.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because now you've got cross-platform with YouTube doing a podcast now, and podcast being more video, and then also podcast platforms allowing video on that platform. And that's taken someone, the casual listener. You think about a podcast listener, and they're typically probably popping in that podcast on their commute from home to work, in the morning, popping it in. But now YouTube is trying to break into that market and bring some of those viewers over to watching it in video form.
I think YouTube is just going to destroy everybody. Like, in my opinion.
I do too.
Yeah,
I think so. Like, I mean, like Facebook is great, but it's having its own concerns. It's having its own issues currently. Same thing with TikTok. Same thing with Instagram. Same thing with, whatever else there is out there. But I just feel like YouTube will take over everything, and it's gonna it's gonna be the superpower. Like I think YouTube will eventually just be the superpower. All these other platforms will exist, and they're not gonna go anywhere. But I just think that there's gonna be this huge dominance, and when that dominance happens, it's like you're either gonna be there, make the shift, you're gonna ride the wave, you're gonna catch it, and it's gonna be awesome, or you're going to be a late adopter, and you might just kind of be coasting on a little floaty just in the big ocean, but it's almost like look, I'll give you guys insider, like I'll give you guys like this like insider piece that's in my head. My YouTube video this Friday, it's about storytelling, okay? But it's not just about storytelling, because you do need to tell stories in your videos and your content, because we relate to stories a lot faster and easier, right? Instead of just getting some like jargon information, right?
Yeah.
So who did I compare to this Friday? I actually compared one of the greatest storytellers of our generation, the one and only Mr. Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Okay, you have a guy. You have a guy who has gone 1,000 plus weekly episodes for Monday Night Raw. Okay, you cannot be on television for 1,000 plus episodes. This guy outranked The Simpsons. He outranked, other like soap operas like Young and the Restless. He's outranked everybody, Seinfeld, Family Guy, you name it. And while doing so in the 90s, destroyed his competition, bought out WCW, bought out any other platform that even thought of putting on wrestling entertainment. You cannot do that if you are not an incredible storyteller, because it's the stories that captivate us. We all know that, sure, injuries happen everywhere, but we obviously know that when we're watching wrestling, it's entertainment. It's not a boxing match. You're not actually there to get, like obliterated with broken noses and stuff, even though injuries do happen because of the type of matches that happen. But let's face it,
I cried when I found out it wasn't real.
Well, yeah, a lot of us probably did. Me, I was super upset when I found out it wasn't real. But at the end of the day, I'm pushing 37 years old and I'm still watching it. And the reason why I did it, because Molly, a couple weeks back, we were talking about how my content goes alongside with pop culture. Mm-hmm. So this Saturday is day one of WrestleMania. What better way to put out a video? But you want to talk about pop culture and being relevant? What better way to put out a video during a large event where millions of people are going to be on YouTube?
I'm like crying while I'm laughing here. Because it's a brilliant idea. I was absolutely thinking about doing this because for some reason, wrestling has become big again with the people around me.
Really?
And this is the first time it's happened since I was an adult, and I actually kind of want to watch it.
I can tell you why. I can tell you why it's gone popular and big again. For one reason and one reason only. After the Attitude Era, which happened, let's say, between like 2000 and 2010, or even like 98 to 2010, what Vince McMahon tried to do was he wanted to bring in more of a family audience. So he actually dropped the rating down to like family or whatever it was, right? So he made the content more kid friendly. When Vince slowly started coming out of retirement and Triple H, his son-in-law, took over or was starting to take over, he was like, yo, we're losing a big audience. We need to go back to that Attitude Era. So the rating for Monday Night Raw now has gone back to 14A or 14 plus. So Triple H is bringing back that gruesome, like swearing, like they're not even like when the crowd is dropping F-bombs, Sportsnet is not censoring it anymore.
Wow. Talk about adapting to his audience, because he knows his audience is becoming, his audience is aging.
And the ones that are aging are the ones that fell in love with the sports entertainment to begin with. And if you have nothing to give us, we're going to lose. You're going to lose us. The only way you're going to keep us like active is if we all reproduced because we want our kids to experience the same experiences that we had. Yeah. Right. But but for those that are not reproducing, we don't care. We're going to stop caring about it. Right.
Yeah.
So he literally just changed the censorship, and now it's gone back to it's almost gone back to its original settings. Gotta admit though, it's tough to watch the original settings or the original censorship with a new cast, because they're trying to like they have their own quirks, but I mean, yeah, it's something that you kind of got to get used to.
It's characters.
It's characters. And you can build characters. You can, and I talk about this in my video. I'll give you a little spoiler for Friday. You can build characters in your storytelling, in your own content. And the way you do that is if you have a team. Do you work with other creators? Do you have a team of 5 or more? Those can be your characters. You can big them up. Talk about how they help your business succeed. Now you can create people within your content and tell those stories. And I get into that in the video, so I'm not going to spoil it completely, but storytelling all the way through and through. Big up Vince McMahon, baby. Woo!
I'm excited. I love this stuff. I love this stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna park my butt on the couch for a whole 2 days, 8-hour event, and I'm gonna just watch WrestleMania.
It's amazing how storytelling, I think Derral Eves talked about in his book about not just having people characters, but turn your objects into characters, turning objects into characters and tasks into characters. And that's how you can take these boring, mundane topics and turn them into interesting and colorful with more than one sides to it. That's something that I definitely need to
I have something.
Get better and improve in.
So seeing as we're on this topic, the YouTube formula, Derral Eves, page 233. I have no idea what the chapter is. Let me tell you about a channel whose content strategy includes having a huge library of videos. World Wrestling Entertainment, or WWE. Derral Eves even bigs up WWE. Okay? WWE gets between 1.4 and 1.5 billion video views a month. They've been known to upload 24 to 50 videos in one day. This insane schedule would overwhelm browse, but it works great on suggested. If your channel has close to 50,000 videos, which WWE does, YouTube will put your new content on the suggested feed. Don't forget to tie in this new content with your old content, though. New content that has a data relationship to your old videos gives them a freshness factor to be suggested again. Even though they might be years old, the longer your content is on YouTube, the more views you'll accumulate with this strategy. This can be extremely profitable. And then it goes on to say, Amy Wiley, WWE's Senior Director of YouTube Operations, gave great insights into their company's strategies. Amy said that if there is another channel sending views to your channel's videos, it's helpful for you to know about that relationship. You can go to their video and see why your content is being recommended alongside it. You might see topics you're not covering that are working well with your brand and that you should be covering. Or you could have a potential collaboration with that video's creator. 1 month, WWE gained 2 million views that came from a single video from another channel.
Wow.
This shows the power of the algorithm, Amy said, and the power of being a part of the YouTube ecosystem. She nailed it on the head. You have to figure out how to get the algorithm to see your content as a contributing part of the system. You got, I mean, Derral Eves to just big up WWE in his book. You know what I mean? And he's the man. He is literally the man of storytelling. That's it. And it goes even further to that, because he is Junior, Vince McMahon Sr., his father, who is the originator. So these guys have been going at it since what, probably the 30s, 40s? Like, who knows? You know
The 30s and the 40s. What, like 1930s?
Okay, no, maybe like 50s. Maybe like 50s. But like,
we're talking almost 100 years old here.
Well, yeah, because I mean, let's be real. WrestleMania 1 happened in 1980 or 1979 or something like that, and that was Vince's, like, his son's first show. So I mean, if WrestleMania, if the first WrestleMania was in 79, that means that his father must have at least been doing sports entertainment for probably 20 years prior to that, right? So that, like, roughly speaking, I don't know the facts, but they've been telling stories for years now. Years.
And that's interesting, that data connection to your old content, in order to keep that as part of the ecosystem, instead of looking at old content as dead and useless. And so, like, how does one create that data connection? How do you continuously create the right callbacks to that old content? So at the end of your YouTube videos, what's really helpful is to have to utilize the thumbnail that pops up to say, check out this video. So you record a little clip at the end of your video, check out this video that's about specific topic that I think's connected to what we just talked about, if you want to know more. But that video is like 2 years old that you're pointing to. Or if you say something in your piece of content and you're like, hey, but if you want to see what I thought about this 10 years ago, check out this video. And that can throw back to an even older video. Or going back and creating reactionary content to those old videos could revive that stuff as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Good points. Good points. I've kind of shied away from the talking about current events a lot, because when I think there's a risk when you talk about current events about the longevity of that content. But I think you make good points, because although you might talk about something today like Vine, let's say we were talking about Vine a few years ago, maybe you would go back to look at what you were talking about Vine, or maybe there's a possibility Vine might come back.
Like, I find that now with certain platforms coming up and certain creators, like Vine is coming up in discussion, and it's trending more recently, because the former creators of Vine, or the creators of Vine, also created this trivia show that there was a big documentary on one of the network TV networks. And so that's reviving that keyword, which is feeding up content related to Vine. So I could see in the social media worlds how those could trend together.
So yeah, and Mark, too, to go back on what you were saying about it having like a risk factor of speaking about, you know, certain current events and whatnot, because they might not be relatable or whatnot. Anytime I do a video on a relatable event, it's always how I can tie it back to your business, right? So it's like, for somebody that could be a wrestling fan, or is not a wrestling fan but knows about it, can also get insight as to like how those storytelling tactics can help them with their content creation, right?
It becomes the frame in which they understand the foundational information about business.
You've wrapped that principle in a current affair and related it to it. That's gold right there, Lefty.
That way everyone's on the same page. Everyone's looking at the same example that we know they're enthusiastic about outside of the discussion of business. But then the entire discussion is, oh wait, this is about business. I have an entire section of my library I was a philosophy major, and so I have an entire section of my library of books about pop culture related things and philosophy. The
Really?
Matrix and philosophy, The Simpsons and philosophy, South Park and philosophy, Seinfeld and philosophy. So what these are collections of essays from different writers who are looking at different episodes or different movies or whatnot, and finding those connections to the foundational discussion of philosophy. So they highlight, oh, well, this was a thought from this philosopher, and this is how it's exemplified in the Matrix, for example. And so it basically, what Lefty's doing is creating that for current pop culture related events. But instead of philosophy, he's talking about business. He's talking about storytelling. He's talking about content. He's talking about lead gen. He's talking about sales. Those, yeah. So that's what I think about.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, because I mean, if you came onto my channel and you're just like, this guy's a video marketing agency, why is he making a video on wrestling? I could completely understand, like, there's no connection there, and you're probably going to be like, screw this guy, I'm not watching. But like,
it's marketing done well.
Well, we locked 100 wrestlers in a tub full of bees. I don't even have, well, that's all I have to say, and you already know who it is, right? And no one's getting out for 24 hours.
Oh my gosh.
If you were a business owner, how would you feel?
We locked 100 wrestlers and 100 entrepreneur funnel builders into a room for 48 hours. But they're not alone. We've added 1,000 bees. Yeah, they're hungry. But here's a catch. At the end, if they can survive, they might win $100 million. And there's also a catch. We're also going to donate $100 million. And so this is what they got to do. They've got to build successful businesses before the time is up. And if they don't, they're going to get slimed.
And we keep the $100 million.
And
are you ready to rumble?
And while you're at it, I would take my Feastables because it's the best drink ever.
Sorry, while I have a beast burger.
Oh my gosh. I almost spit out my coffee.
I think that officially is time to wrap up this episode.
I heard someone ask whether Mr. Beast's actual format for his videos is getting kind of wearing on us, kind of like, okay, it's time to move on to a different type of video. But okay.
I wonder.
I think that, honest to God, like, I think this guy can literally stop creating today and he'll still make buttloads of money. Like, I honestly don't even think he cares. Like, I mean, I know he cares about his product, he cares about his content, but I mean, like, I also feel like he wouldn't go anywhere if he actually like left. Like, I think he's so far gone in that sense that it wouldn't even faze him if he never recorded another video ever again.
I think he's keen. I think he's keen on the algorithm, and he loves to play in that space. That he would always just experiment, like create videos to experiment for the sake of it. And I think he is motivated to change and flow as the algorithm kind of, as he figures out new things. But, like I think the gimmicky things are gimmicky, but I think he's a foundation mover, I think.
Yeah. And another thing quickly before we go, like there's another channel called Raka Raka, I think. These guys literally left for an entire year and good for them, because they were filming like a film. They were filming, I think, like a short film or a feature film or something, and it actually got picked up by the producers at A24 Productions, right? But they literally came out with a video on the entire year process a year later, and a year later when that video went, it got millions of views as well, like instantly, like right away. So it just goes to show that, like, you don't always have to be there if the content is big enough. And they're more like pranky, comical, gag type videos. Like, they do a lot of stupid crap on their videos, in my opinion. But they're great to watch. Like, they're funny to watch. And speaking of like the joke that we were just doing about Mr. Beast titles and whatnot, they actually called out Mr. Beast in one of their videos to do an Uno match for $100,000.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah. So it's like they're gonna challenge Mr. Beast to a game of Uno for $100,000.
Okay. All right. Speed round. What is your one big tip, best takeaway from the book in 3 sentences or less? Mark, you're first.
Awesome book. Learn to tell stories that will connect with your audience, and the numbers will happen automatically.
Love it. Lefty.
Yeah, again, like, amazing book. Learned so many things that I didn't even know, or even just needed a refresher on. But the one big takeaway for me, and it's something that I've started to slowly implement, is collaborations. Just connect with other YouTubers, find out who they are, and see if they're willing to work with you, and if you guys can come up with some awesome ideas to do something together, so you can both feed the algorithm. So collaboration was a big one, and of course, something that I learned, I wouldn't say late, but a little later, is the feedback portion of the content. Yeah. So learn to get feedback, learn to be okay with the criticism if somebody gives you a negative response. But if you are asking the right people, then you should know that their negative response comes from a place of love, not from a place of hurt or harm, and take it with a grain of salt, but also understand that they're just doing it to better you. And that's kind of what I got my takeaway from.
Awesome. My biggest takeaway from the book that's still blowing my mind is the AI and your thumbnails, and the AI scanning through your videos, and how it files the content. So that's really helping me frame things very differently. So it's even informed how I'm changing up the thumbnail for book club for next season. We're going to have our faces in there more and things like that. So that's my biggest takeaway. I am super excited for next week. We are going to start out with jab, 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 right hook. And we're going to read, let's say, round 1, round 2. We'll figure out offline how much we're going to read. And we will see you same bat time, same bat channel, 7:30 a.m. Eastern, for those of you who want to join us live, and whenever you feel like it, for those of you watching the replay. Hello to everyone joining us on our YouTube channels. All 3 of our channels are live right now, as well as a whole bunch of our Facebook groups and whatnot as well. So hello to everyone who's watched all the way to the end. We will see you next week. And until then, remember, I love you. Be excellent to each other, and just go live. Your people are out there waiting for you. Bye, everyone.